Chapter 2. The Parade of Elephants. The streets of London had become a festival of colors and sound, an ode to a historic underdog moment. Trafalgar Square pulsed with energy as the crowd, draped in the orange, green, and white of the elephants' country, sang and cheered. The air was thick with the scent of roasted peanuts and spiced meats from nearby street vendors, mingling with the sharp tang of freshly spilled beer. At the center of it all was the Parade of Elephants, a spectacle unlike anything the city had ever seen. The animals moved gracefully, their immense size offset by the serene majesty of their presence. Each elephant was adorned with blankets of emerald and gold, intricately embroidered with symbols that told the story of resilience, freedom, and unity. The tusks of the lead elephant, painted with delicate spirals and sharp lines, caught the sunlight, creating an almost ethereal glow. The crowd erupted as the elephants reached the square, the symbolism of their presence as powerful as the match to come. Among the performers was Lila Cross, weaving through the parade on her silver stilts like a dancer caught between worlds. Her costume was a riot of color, ribbons of orange and green fluttering with her every move. As a street performer, Lila was used to playing to the energy of the crowd, but today felt different, electric, chaotic, almost dangerous. Her practiced smiles faltered as a creeping unease gripped her. She glanced at the lead elephant, its steady, rhythmic steps seemingly out of sync with the jubilant chaos around it. There was something strange about the patterns on its tusks. Lila couldn't shake the feeling that the jagged lines and spirals were more than decoration, the way they curved and intersected. It felt deliberate, like they were trying to tell a story or deliver a warning. "Focus, Lila," she whispered to herself, shaking off the thought. She tossed a handful of orange and green streamers into the air, eliciting cheers from the children watching. But her eyes kept drifting back to the elephant. Something wasn't right. Amara Kone stood near the front of the crowd, her camera poised and ready. As a journalist, she had seen her share of history being made, but this moment felt uniquely significant. The elephant's country was more than a team. It was a symbol of resilience for nations that had long been overlooked and underestimated. Capturing this parade, she thought, was like capturing a heartbeat. She adjusted her zoom lens, focusing on the tusks of the lead elephant. Her breath caught. The patterns weren't random. They reminded her of something she'd seen during her research on ancient Ivorian symbolism, a script used by storytellers and spiritual leaders to convey hidden messages. Her fingers hovered over the shutter button, her mind racing with questions. Why would these symbols be here now? As Amara snapped another shot, her lens caught movement, a figure darting from the crowd toward the elephant. Her eyes narrowed as she lowered her camera. The man was small, dressed in a dark hoodie that concealed his face, and moved with a deliberate urgency. She watched as he reached out and tugged at the edge of the elephant's blanket, his movements swift and precise. Before she could react, he melted back into the crowd. "Hey!" Amara called out, her voice lost in the cacophony. She tried to follow him, pushing through the mass of cheering fans, but it was like chasing a ghost. By the time she reached the spot where he had disappeared, there was nothing but the press of bodies and the deafening roar of the parade. Lila had noticed the disturbance too. Her stilts wobbled slightly as she turned, her gaze fixed on the lead elephant. It had stopped mid-stride, its massive ears flaring outward in what seemed like alarm. The handler at its side whispered soothingly, but the animal shifted uneasily, its huge feet scraping against the cobblestones. The crowd barely noticed, too caught up in the music and cheers. But Lila felt it, a crack in the parade's jubilant facade. She stepped closer, her heart pounding as she reached for the hem of the elephant's blanket. Her fingers brushed something cold and hard, hidden beneath the ornate fabric. She glanced around to make sure no one was watching before pulling it free. It was small and metallic, roughly the size of a smartphone, with an unfamiliar logo etched into its surface. She slipped it into her pocket, just as the handler turned to glare at her. "What are you doing?" he hissed, his voice low but sharp. "Fixing a snag," Lila lied, flashing her most disarming smile. "Can't have anything ruin the parade, right?" The handler frowned but didn't press further. Lila straightened and continued down the parade route, her mind racing. Whatever she had just found, it didn't belong there. And whoever had put it there wasn't planning anything good. As the parade wound its way toward the Thames, the crowd's energy reached a fever pitch. Drummers pounded out rhythms that reverberated through the air. Dancers in flowing orange gowns spun in hypnotic patterns, and the elephants marched on, their presence both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Lila glanced back at the lead elephant one last time. The symbols on its tusks seemed to shimmer, as if urging her to pay attention. She didn't know what the device in her pocket was, but she knew one thing for certain. The elephants weren't just symbols of hope. They were part of something much larger, something she was now a part of, whether she liked it or not. Ahead of her, Amara stood by the edge of the parade, her camera still trained on the elephants. Their eyes met briefly, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Neither woman knew it yet, but their paths were about to converge in ways that would change everything.